It's a beautiful summer day in Indiana. We're back at the very unique Indianapolis Zoo. Orangutans climbing through the sky, daily dolphin shows, and kangaroos that are so friendly that you can walk right up and pet them. What more could you really ask for? Maybe an up-close encounter with the world's largest land animal. Well, in that case, I've got you covered as we'll be exploring the plains. The African Savanna is probably the most commonly replicated environment in zoos, and it's no wonder when you've got so many species of charismatic megafauna. But to some extent, each zoo still manages to make the concept their own. So, on today's tour, we'll see what's special about the Indianapolis Zoo's idea of the African plains. After walking through the forest, saying hello to the kangaroos, and passing by the orangutans, crocodilians, and birds, you finally reach the entry path for the plains, the farthest attraction from the zoo's entrance. Although the area's simple name, the Plains, does not specify any geographic region, at this time the entire complex is home to African animals, but that wasn't always the case. Up until 2009, the final habitat along the trail was Australian themed, which was the last time the zoo displayed kangaroos until the kangaroo crossings opening last year. Back to Africa, the first viewing point overlooks a good-sized mixed-species yard, a staple of any good African savanna. If you visit, you may see up to 6 species in here, which I'll list in just a moment. Moving on for now, one thing that makes Indy's plains unique is the tall mounds of high grasses that surround the trail, helping to make you feel enclosed in the environment of the African plains. The trail rises again onto a boardwalk where, next up on the right, is another mixed species exhibit, although this one contains just 2 species. The first that's impossible to miss is the reticulated giraffe. In Indianapolis, you'll find a herd of 4. The youngest, Kendi, was born in 2020. He lives with his mother, Cheetah, father, Majani, and older half-sister, McKenna. At the far end, the boardwalk extends closer to the habitat, which is where you can feed the giraffes at scheduled times throughout the day. Well, most guests will be captivated by the world's tallest land animal. I'm more interested in talking about the elegant Addra gazelle, the largest of the gazelles native to southern portions of Africa's Sahara Desert. Addra gazelles are highly nomadic, frequently traveling in search of food and water. As a desert species, they can go long periods of time without water, getting all the nutrients they need from the leaves and other vegetation that they eat, and they are able to stand up on their hind legs to reach higher vegetation. The Addra gazelle is threatened by climate change, poaching, and military conflicts, which have pushed the wild population below 500 individuals, but the Indianapolis Zoo has had success breeding this critically endangered species, with the most recent birth occurring in 2021. Across the path is our second look at the mixed species savanna, which acts as the centerpiece for the entire plains trail. Its inhabitants include the Grant zebra. You probably know that each zebra's stripe pattern is unique, and that these stripes help to confuse predators when a zebra herd flees, making it harder to pick out a single individual target. But did you know that zebras will take turns sleeping to make sure some members of the herd are always on sentry duty? Or that zebras are the only grazing animals with both upper and lower incisors, which allows them to cleanly snip blades of grass, exposing the tender undergrass for other species. There's also the white-bearded wildebeest, well known for their great migrations. The ostrich is perhaps Africa's most iconic bird, standing up to 9 feet tall and weighing more than 300 pounds. They are the only flightless bird with only 2 toes, which helps propel them to great speeds of over 40 miles per hour, but if fleeing isn't an option, they can deliver a deadly kick. The Ruppell's Griffon vulture, a critically endangered species, has been recorded flying at an elevation of over 36,000 feet above sea level, making it the world's highest flying bird. The final resident of this exhibit we'll see later on, since they weren't in the main habitat on my visit for a pretty adorable reason. The next habitat that comes into view is a modest dirt yard with plenty of mud to wallow in for something really big. But before we talk about them, here's the main glass viewing windows for the African lion, where their main man, Enzi, was showing off just about the laziest lion roar of all time. Enzi was part of a litter of 3 born at the zoo in 2015. He actually just recently moved to the Honolulu Zoo. At the time of my visit, he was kept separate from his mother and sister, which helped simulate wild behavior in which a young male would eventually leave his pride to live on his own or form a bachelor pride with other young males. Directly opposite the lions is the unique main viewing area for what was actually the original habitat for the zoo's elephants when the plains first opened. A rope bridge takes you to a viewing structure placed in the middle of the habitat, where you are almost completely surrounded by the exhibit, which, if you haven't noticed yet, now contains the southern white rhinoceros, a common practice in zoos to convert outdated elephant enclosures into homes for rhinos. Indianapolis is home to a herd of 3, 2 females, Mambo and Gloria, and the lone male, Spike. The southern white rhino is currently the least endangered species of rhino, but that hasn't always been the case, and on another upcoming tour I'll discuss how the southern white rhino was saved from the brink of extinction. Today they are still classified as near threatened in the wild, and over 98% of the remaining white rhinos are found in just 4 southern African countries. Finally, ending with a fun fact, the white rhino has the widest set of nostrils of any land animal. Past the rhinos is a mesh-enclosed copy for Guinea baboons, and honestly, it's a shame that I didn't get more footage of them, since although I don't have anything official to back this up, it seems that baboons like these are becoming rare to find in AZA zoos. Nearby is the Tembo camp, the newest major addition to the plains, a 2020 expansion of the zoo's already superb elephant complex, where, for the first time on exhibit tours, I can properly introduce the African elephant. As the old saying goes, an elephant never forgets, which if this is stretching the truth, it isn't by much. Elephants have the largest brains among land mammals. They are able to remember other elephants and humans that they have met over the years, as well as the locations of distant watering holes, and they pass this information along to new generations. As you can see, the Tembo camp is set up for keeper demonstrations, where the staff educate guests about the elephants while they watch a training session. After the demonstration is done, guests can line up for the opportunity to meet the elephant even more up close, where you are able to touch them to feel their tough skin, a true once-in-a-lifetime experience. So I had the chance to meet Tombi. Tombi was born in the wild in 1976. She spent her youth at Potter Park Zoo in Lansing, Michigan, but just a decade after her arrival there, attitudes about the captive care of elephants had drastically changed, so she made the move to Indianapolis in 1989 in order to live a social life with more of her kind. Although I don't believe she's ever been a mother herself, Tombi has acted as a great aunt for many young elephants over the years. If you head past the baboons in the other direction, there's another viewing window for the lions, although it isn't the most photographer friendly due to the double fencing. Venturing further up the path, there's a look into a more secluded, dusty corner of the mixed species plains. And opposite that is a private yard with limited viewing, where I saw the zoo's herd of greater Kudu, including little Salico, who was just a few weeks old at the time of my visit. Past them, and yes, I'm skipping by something big right now, don't worry, we'll get to it later, there's yet more views of the savannah, and a fun, interactive game where you can race a cheetah, which is of course placed in front of an exhibit for the world's fastest land animal. You can view the first exhibit through glass, but the best views are from an elevated bridge placed in between the 2 cheetah habitats, where you're completely surrounded by these majestic spotted cats. The Indy Zoo is home to 4 total cheetahs, who you can read about on the signs placed in front of their exhibits. They were busy doing what cats are best at, so moving on, we're in the home stretch, with the biggest highlight still to come. First, there's a smaller, glass-fronted habitat that displays just a few of Africa's many amazing birds. The most active of which were the helmeted guinea fowl, who have become somewhat popular as guard birds due to their loud alert calls which give early notice of any intruders, and they also double as excellent pest control. And finally, what I consider to be the highlight of the plains. The African Elephant Reserve, which opened in 2002 as one of the nation's finest homes for elephants, and still stands up well today. There's 2 massive yards, the first of which can actually be seen before the cheetahs. The 2 yards appear to be one, seemingly connected by one massive continuous pool, and the second yard even contains a glass viewing window, a very unique way to see elephants. Indianapolis is currently home to a herd of 5. As you can clearly see, this is their young bull Kudu, who was born here in Indianapolis in 2005. And then there's 4 females. We already met Tombi, but there's also the experienced mothers Kubwa and Ivory. In 2000, Kubwa became the first elephant to give birth via artificial insemination, and Ivory followed suit later the same year, becoming the second elephant to give birth using AI. Last, there's Zahara, one of Ivory's offspring who was born in 2006. Soon, the Indy Zoo's herd will be growing again, as the zoo has announced that Zahara is over halfway through her first pregnancy, and due to give birth in October. Her calf will mark the first third-generation offspring to be born through artificial insemination. While this would make for a great finale, there's still one more exhibit. A recently upgraded multi-species yard for Cape porcupines and the very charming warthogs, Kazi and Lily, who had a litter of 4 piglets together in 2018. The warts on a warthog's face are not warts at all, but actually protrusions of bone and cartilage, which help protect the male's face during skirmishes. Warthogs also have extra padding on their knees to help protect them when they kneel down to graze like this. And that concludes our walk through the plains biome at the Indianapolis Zoo. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments, and answer this question: what is your favorite place to see elephants? Now enjoy this preview of the next adventure that awaits us on exhibit tours.